Well, Dan Mazier is dropping by to say hi. Hey, Dan.
Hi.
So, I don't know why you did it, but you called an election. I wasn't ready. I've got farming to do. We've got fires in BC, but you wanted to go to the polls, I guess.
No, I certainly did not. Mr. Trudeau decided to call the election. That's a for sure. He was the one that made the walk.
Well, you're in it now. You can't get out. He's called the election. What's the campaign looking like for you so far?
Right in Dauphin, Swan River, Neepawa. So a whole bunch of things happen when he does drop the writ, right? So we are in campaign mode, and the first thing we do is get our signs out, which you're starting to see those around the whole riding. You have to put a little bit of context around the riding itself. So the riding of Dauphin, Swan River, Neepawa is the size of Nova Scotia. It's actually a little bit bigger. It's got 38 municipalities, 14 First Nations, and 28 Hutterite colonies. Second most spoken language is German, believe it or not. And it grows the most canola per member of parliament in Canada.
It's some pretty good fish, too.
Yes. So that's just kind of gives you the kind of the vastness and the diversity in our riding, which is the best known secret in as far as our ability to really gain in our economies and grow this region very. I think a lot. Like it's got a lot of potential.
Is it difficult for you? You've represented the riding for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard when it's so big to make sure you represent the whole thing?
Well, you got to be coordinated. And every time you leave, say my home or the constituency office, anything like that, or campaign office, we got to go with a purpose and a plan to make sure we cover those people. So we're not backtracking a lot. So we did. So right now we're in it's called door knocking. Of course, that's what they refer to it. IDing actually our support. And I think a lot of people it's something that I've taken on as a new candidate, being a new MP as well for the last couple of years, and we're very aggressive kind of. Approach this time around, and we're trying to get out every night during the campaign for 36 days and just get out and door knock. Probably from about 4 to 8 is going to be the normal times in the evenings, and then probably really go at it on a Saturday, and then that's how we're going to door knock. The result of that, so we're going to be walking around. We'll be leaving pamphlets behind if we miss you. You'll see with our recovery plan on there. And then we'll be asking if you're going to be supporting us or not, or what's your biggest concern right now, and then making sure we got the correct contact information for you. So when it comes closer to the election, we have a way of getting a hold of you to remind you to get you to the polls. So get out the vote.
When you go to those doors, what are people saying the issues are?
Being such a vast region, it's kind of amazing. Like that's one of the things we do listen for. People are really concerned. They want to get back to work. I think that's in it. How do we get our jobs back? A recovery plan. What are we going to do forward? Looking forward, like what needs to be addressed? People are really concerned about the debt that's been acquired over this the regions. People are concerned about their health as well. I know that's why we're talking about a proposed national mental health strategy for all Canada. That's in one of our plans. And then, of course, getting people back to work, supporting those industries that have been severely impacted, especially in this region and in the riding. The outfitters, the tourism, those industries have been basically left behind. And what I can't get over, and it's just still when I hear these the business loans that were out. The entrepreneurs, the people that just bought their business, and they like January 1st, and I know there's some in this region, they weren't eligible for anything. They took on the risk. They were going to try to start the business, and they've had absolutely nothing, and that's just not right. So we're going to focus on getting everybody on the recovery path to recovery to get them back to where we can build Canada and grow it all together.
I want to talk vaccine for a moment. That dominated the first couple of days of the campaign. We saw the Liberals first say mandatory vaccine for not only federal civil servants, but anyone like us in radio that is federally regulated. Then we saw sort of a backup from the government saying, well, as long as you get tested. Then that's changed. We're back to not even knowing what it means anymore. We've seen the Conservatives say, get vaccinated if you possibly can. We'd really like you to. But if you absolutely won't, we have a plan. What is your take on that? Is that the right message that you should, but we're not going to make it mandatory and fire you?
Well, I think you should have the individual right to decide what you do with your own body and what you do with that. I think as I'm of the opinion, I'm double vaccinated. I mean, I had people that I didn't want to end up where, and there was science that was sitting there saying you have a vaccine. As far as I think that generally, so I support people making their individual choice. And there's also now we have tools. So if you choose not to, and there's ways of supporting that decision as well. So get rapid testing. That's one thing we haven't seen much use of, is the whole rapid test. If we would have used these tools that were available to us early on, we wouldn't have went through these lockdowns. We wouldn't have went through a lot of these different things that we've had to go through. So I think it is ultimately up to the individual. But then I'd encourage, and the party encourages people to get your vaccines, because it is probably it is the best tool to make sure that we get COVID wrestled down to the ground, and can start getting rid of these other measures that have been taking place to make sure it's suppressed.
Now, a lot of people have had the opportunity to meet you, but maybe they haven't had a chance to meet Darren OToole. You know him because you've worked with him. Tell me a little bit about him. What's he like as a leader? What would he be like as Prime Minister if that turns out?
Well, he's just like this, you and I talking right now. It's he's a good person, family guy, served 12 years in the military, and then he went to be a lawyer in Southern Ontario, in Toronto, I believe. And, he just wants to serve the country and get it in the right direction. I think he can relate. I think this is the biggest problem for the Liberal government right now is I can't imagine Justin Trudeau. I've seen him in the House of Commons and how he just can't relate to anything like what you and I go through in a normal day. Like, he hasn't had to worry about his budgets. He hasn't had to worry about, lots of different things that we worry about, and work. That's something that Darren OToole is just another Canadian, and wants to build the country up with all Canadians and get this country back on track.
Then we look at the early poll numbers from Manitoba. It looks like your riding probably will go Conservative unless there's some big upset and we find out something that, I look forward to the day we have great news. But does that mean you don't work as hard, or do you still get out there and do everything you can?
No, still get out there. I take nothing for granted. This is a really good opportunity for people to get to meet. We were just talking with the team on the way up here. As far as this is the time that I can get out to those the Bonitos, the smaller centers that I don't spend a lot of time in because I just can't when I'm back when the house is sitting and those kind of things. We sit for 165 days, so half of the year I'm gone to Ottawa normally. So it's my prime objective to get out and door knock in those communities that a lot of people wouldn't have the opportunity to see me face to face, especially. And I think it's I've had numerous people. My second door I knocked on, it was Rapid City. Actually, I was down there back in the last election. And the fellow lived there for 25 years. He was actually immigrated, and he was a voter. And he said he's never had a politician, doesn't matter, councillor, anybody, stand on his door and knock on his door and introduce themselves. So I was 20. That, and I think that's a very important thing. Like, people, I want to be known as the MP or candidate that's very accessible, and you can get a hold of me, get a hold of the staff if you do have any questions. I think we need to do a lot more of that, especially as an elected representative, and I'm here to serve.
Give me the 60-second version. You walk up to the door, the person doesn't know who you are. What do you tell them about yourself?
I got a pamphlet right here, and I say, "Hi, I'm Dan Mazier. I'm a candidate for the Conservative Party of Canada. Just out door knocking. What's your biggest concern? Or what's the issue, your most serious issue that you're thinking about today? Have you heard about the election? Can we count on your support?" And if they say yes, then we make sure we have the correct information. We have tablets that we have as well, and it's for all the information from Elections Canada, actually, that like your residents and the people that might be living there. So if we have a phone number or an email that we have, and then we'll make sure we start contacting you for first advance polls and then the election day.
I'm curious, when you walk up to somebody and say, "Will you support me?" What if they say, "You know what? Absolutely not. I am a Liberal voter. I'm always going to vote Liberal. What do you do then? Do you still take care of what that person wants?
Make sure they vote, and then that's good. Like, I mean, ultimately, yes, if I win the riding, I represent everybody. But why? Sometimes you're supposed to be only 3 minutes. I don't, as a candidate, I don't like that. If I've been there and I've taken the time to stand in the door, have a little bit of that conversation. And there's nothing wrong. Like, I mean, it's a free country, and I think a lot of us, especially lately, I think we forget that. Like, it's a very privileged society that we live in, just in general. To be living in a democracy, it's a great free country, and you're entitled to your opinion. That's okay if you're a Liberal, NDP. I don't mind that. But what are those policies that you wouldn't vote for us? Like, maybe there's something we've missed, and maybe we can address in the platform. So that gives me a little bit more opportunity to hear what's on their mind. Maybe we missed something, and we can swing that vote over.
Just before we wrap up, I kind of lead with that question to a look at the United States, where we see such polarization now. You're either for or against. It doesn't matter who or what you're for or against. Do you see that in Canada, or are we still much better placed than that?
We're much better in that, but I find a lot of people that watch Liberals have been masters at, and our Canadian media has really been masterful at making us look like the U.S., like this for and against, especially when Trump was in. I could not get over, like, there was more news on Donald Trump and we were, like, there was full-on pandemic and things like that before his election. We were reporting a lot more on our I'll say, common national news networks. We're reporting much more on the U.S. stuff versus the Canadian stuff. So I think once we get, I'm always of the opinion, like, I respectfully disagree, and let's sit down and have a coffee or a beer kind of after, right? But I do really enjoy that part of that job of figuring out what people are thinking and having that discussion. So,
Dan Mazier, anything you want to add?
No, if you see me around, if you want to have a sign on your lawn, or if you want to help out with the campaign, danmazier.ca, and looking forward, hopefully I knock on your door.
Dan Mazier joins us. Thanks very much. Always nice to catch up with you.
Thank you very much.